My name is Mark Compton, and I'm an automation engineer. Automation engineer basically creates and invents automation systems for manufacturing. I would say mostly, I guess, technology and engineering, the T and the E's part. And I'm sorry, how did you say? So there's many different types of engineering that are involved with automation. You have process engineering, which is developing like a system for manufacturing. You have mechanical engineering, which is engineering all the tooling and all the machines that go into automation. You have robotics engineering, which is specific to robots, mostly industrial robots. You would have what we call controls engineering, which is really kind of two parts to that. The first is electrical design, so designing all the circuits and the electronics that go into an automation system. And then the next part of that would be software engineering, so writing all the code and the software to run all of those systems. And I think that's it, now that I think about it. I think I knew since I was a kid that I wanted to be an engineer of some sort. I think it was actually elementary school. Of course, I was always the Lego kid, which I think a lot of engineers start out as Lego kids. But maybe even before that, I was the kid that would take apart his toys, right? Take them apart and then try to figure out what was going on inside of them and then try to put them back together, and sometimes successfully, sometimes not. But I think ever since then, I think the very first time I even thought about the word engineering is I heard something called genetic engineering, and I thought that just sounded so cool when I was a kid, and I thought, that's what I would do. I think I used to answer that when people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And this is in the 70s, I would say genetic engineer. And people are like, what's that? But eventually, I became a mechanical engineer by degree. An engineering degree typically is the best route. It's not entirely the only way to do it. But for automation engineering, you can be an electronic engineer or electrical engineer. Mechanical engineers can do it. Computer engineers, a lot of them do that as well. There's also some people that learn on the job, who may have started out in a trade, say as an electrician or a pipe fitter, and then showed kind of some aptitude towards maybe getting even more technical and more on the design side, and then they learn kind of on the job, and we'll teach people that from there. Engineering in large part is about problem solving. And when you have a big problem in front of you, one that really bothers you and is really causing issues and stress for a lot of people, and when you come up with a solution that works for everybody, and everybody knows it's going to work, I think that's an awesome point early on when you come up with that first idea of the solution. I think the next part is when it all comes together and you get to see the thing that you've designed actually work, and that you've created something that maybe has never existed before, which is a pretty cool thing. Definitely try to do well in school. I think that's kind of obvious. You definitely want to take an interest in technology and technology that's happening. Of course, you want to learn about mathematics and science. Those things are definitely key to becoming a good engineer. You don't have to be the best at all of those things. I wouldn't let that intimidate you if maybe math doesn't come super easy to you. You do need to understand the basics of it and do well in it, but you don't have to be a math genius to do it. And you don't necessarily have to love math, because a lot of people don't necessarily love math, but they can do it, and it's kind of more about the reasoning and the logic of math and science helping you become a better problem solver. And I think that's kind of a key thing to engineering, is developing the skills to be able to solve technical problems. And of course, get the degrees or the training that I mentioned, kind of along those paths. I think maybe Metroid when I was a kid. On the old Nintendo, it was pretty amazing. Board game, I would have to say I like the strategy games, so like Risk or Diplomacy. Those were cool games. Oh yeah, well, An engineer. Originally genetic engineer, even though I didn't know what that really meant back then.